welcome to Synchronicity. We'll just gloss over the fact that I didn't put out an episode last week because, whatever. I had shit to do. These are just valid excuses. I don't know what else you want from me. I assume a regular weekly episode, but you know what? Fuck off. That's how we start this episode. No, it was Thanksgiving week. You got to do stuff. I made the turkey and stuff as such. And, things get lost in the shuffle. No pun intended. Today we are doing December's energy preview, which I have promised to put on the Patreon, but I just can't bring myself to do it. Is it also an easy way to generate an episode when I didn't have a topic planned? Yes, also that, but nevertheless valid. We will get right into it talking about the Miami Dolphins. 8-3, second in the AFC. Dolphins probably are a team. Not a huge Jay Feely fan. Used to be a kicker, a bit of an ignoramus, but he made a valid point, which is I think the Dolphins have to have home field advantage. That Miami Heat late in the year is clearly an advantage. More to the point, going to Buffalo or Kansas City in the dead of winter just doesn't seem like a Dolphins thing to do. But that said, I don't know. More importantly, listen, here's the thing. This is where we're going to separate the milk from the whey, the chaff from the wheat. Is that a thing? Chaff? Chuff? Chaff? Chaff. We'll go with chaff. If you don't watch football, you think it's all about the star players. Yes, it is, of course. But the Dolphins lost Teron Armstead, their left tackle, and in games he hasn't played, they've lost those. And in games that he's played, they've won those. And it kind of is that simple. He solidifies the offensive line, allows Tua to do what he does. We don't have to get more conservative. We can chunk him over the middle for 20 yards at a time. Anyway, I didn't mean to get too technical. My point is I'm a little worried. Yes, 8-3, fantastic after 11 games. You really can't beat that. I like for people who maybe thought that I wasn't going to talk about this every week or this wasn't going to be a recurrent theme. Sorry, this has to be done. But we go to San Francisco. You always say we too. I am part of the team. In case you didn't know, they signed me many years ago to be their person who cares emotionally about what happens to them. It's called an emotional investor. It was quite a bit to get into this round, but I got in, and it's not been great. It's been kind of a losing bet so far. But anyway, going to San Francisco, it's a tough game, right? Staying there for Los Angeles, also tough. Cross-country trips, right? If this dude doesn't play, Teron Armstead, I'm freaking out a little bit. 30 points against the Texans, who are a terrible team in the first half, 0 in the second half. Same team we're playing against. So, I don't know. We'll see. I'm happy. But it's like a wounded animal type of, a abused animal. I've been taken into a nice rich person's home and they're feeding me all this fancy stuff and it's always warm and I don't have to fight for my life to kind of scrap to get out of the, underbelly of this horrible city I live in. I'm not a street cat anymore, but it's hard to accept it. So I lash out sometimes and I forget that I'm supposed to be chill and calm when your team is 8-3. I'm not chill and calm. I'm kind of freaking out. Everything was fine. I would have been so braggadocious and be like, my team is the best, Tua MVP, if it wasn't so clear that as soon as Teron Armstead got hurt, this dude got hit 4 times in a row, Tua, in the face. Bent over backwards one of those times. That's not good. Don't want that. All of this, in case you haven't realized, there's no team, the Miami Dolphins. It's just a metaphor. It's just the allegory for what we're supposed to be learning in life. Have we gotten that yet? I wish it felt like that. I wish I was like, oh, yeah, remember that illusion? Maybe when I die or when you do the retrospective of your life in non-corporeal form or a higher perspective form, I'm sure you're just like, oh, wow, what a trip. A bunch of us believed in this really stupid team called the Miami Dolphins, and they dictated how we felt. And yet, I figure, let it be a lens for self-reflection. Anyway, go Dolphins. Fuck your team if you don't root for the Dolphins. That's the attitude we're taking into this one. Everything else, pretty chill. Isn't it weird? Now, granted, we get the outside anxiety somewhat replaced by internal family machinations and relationships and things when a big holiday rolls around, at least here in the United States. Thanksgiving, which is the holiday to be grateful for. Really, you can be ungrateful. This is my favorite thing about Yom Kippur, the Jewish holiday, the Day of Atonement. You can be a shit motherfucker 364. 363, however many days. But if it's a grateful, thankful day, that's a day to be thankful and tamp down the bullshit. But all those other days, you're good to be a horrible person. Be my guest. The point being is that stuff tends to kind of slow down or not get as wild or crazy in certain weeks. It's like if we're all one, right, and a large segment consciousness goes off grid or directs their attention somewhere else besides the whatever's being pitched out there that we don't perceive with our eyes every day, yet we know it's true. Like on some level, like there is a war in Ukraine, right? Like, I mean, that is something is happening. We want to be so detached from what's going on outside of us but you shouldn't be swayed by, this is the hard part, I guess. I guess like the thing is this, if the war in Ukraine or any other injustice in the world really moves you to go take action in life, that's its function. That's its function. Its function is not to throw judgment and castigation and just like attention and awareness at. That's not what its function is. It's probably going to be more of a distraction for you. Doesn't mean you should pretend that it doesn't exist. It's a tough spiritual thing, right? Because where you're placing your awareness is ultimately creating your reality. So what do you do when situations are kind of calling for your awareness, but then they make you, you don't have a proper perspective on it, or you feel some sort of way, or you get knocked off balance? It can be tough. Obviously, you can take the stance that, everything is kind of ridiculous, and that's a pretty good stance, but the point is you'll have to carry that into most places in your life, right? In all places, ideally, and sometimes it's going to feel more and more silly or harder to do that. Anyway, we're going to do December's energy preview. What are we here? This episode will be out the 28th of November. Yeah, that gives you a few days to sit in this November energy. I don't remember what I said. Go back to that episode to see if that panned out. It feels like it kind of panned out for me. I do kind of vaguely remember being like, it's going to be like a pretty good forward-moving month, but, you're going to have some retrospection and introspection about kind of things you could be doing better, some shadow themes. That feels like a self-fulfilling prophecy for me in November. Let's see what self-fulfilling prophecies shall be revealed. Excuse me. In December 2022. We're almost there. 2023. Crypto. I do feel at some point in 2023, crypto will bounce back. That said, you kind of have to think of it like being like, like you're saving up your nuts and berries right now when things aren't like just like they're not just handing out money. Like that's the truth. Like it's important to go through these phases, and the longer you stay in one of these phases, the more kind of usually the other thing expresses itself. It's a very Tao I Ching type of thing, right? Like it flips to the opposite. I say that so much, I wonder if people actually know what I'm talking about. So in the Tao, or in the I Ching's explanation of it, there are these hexagrams, and energies are represented by each of one of the possible combinations of a hexagram. A hexagram is just 6 lines, and they are in full or broken format, but there's 6 of them. You'd be surprised how many different variations there could be. So when something gets to its maximum form, I should take out the book. Oh my God, I actually have it here. Wow, hold on. That's pretty good. Okay. We can actually use a real life example instead of me just bullshitting. Yes, this is one, I think. We'll find a flip. Yeah, see, like it's really, and like you wouldn't think that it's always sequential in the way it is, but we're going to go from going forward, right? This is the 35th, proceeding forward is the name that it's called, right? Represented by Li, which is fire, and Kun, earth. And so that's the elements it's made up of. It's got this pictogram. They explain it. There's an analysis of it. The one right after going forward, though, is proceeding forward. Brilliance injured, right? That's a flip. That's like, what? I'm going forward. I'm going to win the thing. Like the very kind of, linear progression upwards type energy thing, but it's not. It's brilliance injured, right? And there's a ton of different meanings in Chinese, and just there's a lot of stuff going on with all this. I highly recommend the I Ching for anyone who hasn't experienced it. It's pretty cool. I don't really use the divination aspect of it that often. Like, you can throw coins and you can throw sticks and get these. But it's cool. It's a really cool kind of energetic thing. Also involved in human design if you're someone who's into that. And a lot of modalities. It's just really big fan of the I Ching. There's my endorsement. Go get that. Yeah. I mean, it's just been kind of a moving forward type of energy, and like this flipping of energy sometimes, and this reflection of energy definitely kind of feels like the period we're in. Interested to see what's going on in December. I do think, though, going back to the connecting the actual points, the crypto, the financial, whatever situation is kind of just like acknowledging where you are right now, and hanging in there. I know that kind of sucks, but it will get back to the flip side for a lot of people who are invested in that sphere. There's always opportunities out there. Like, don't ever feel you're restricted to one modality in terms of like abundance or anything like that. That's a huge mistake you can make. Can lead to tunnel vision and just totally like four cups in your way to not seeing opportunities in front of your face. Like, that's right where by the side of your head. Like, that's definitely not what we want to be doing. Let's pull some cards. We'll do a shuffie. That's what it's in the biz called a shuffle. It's called a shuffie. It's just how we do it. All right. Classic Celtic Cross for December. All right. Am I going to do these? I think I just did it in sequence last time, but sometimes I like get the lay of the energy. We'll just name the cards as they come out and their positions. Current issue would be the Hierophant reversed. That makes a ton of sense. Challenge, Wheel of Fortune reversed. Past, the World reversed. Future, King of Swords upright. Conscious Mind, Playful Curiosity Guide, Page of Cups. That's great. Oh, unconscious, the Magician. Ooh, December. Advice, Two of Pentacles. External factors, strength rather. Oh, hopes and fears, Temperance, and outcome. Very interesting stuff. Eight of Cups reversed. Wow. Okay. Super duper cool stuff. Feels highly accurate. Sorry if you just heard me name some stuff you don't know and say cool. Wow. After each one. How infuriating. But luckily, I will go through these and kind of explain why I'm making those sounds. All right, so the Hierophant reverse, right? Our current situation. Hierophant is traditionally associated with order. People could think of it as the Pope figure or some religious figure who's kind of a spiritual hierarchical. Yeah, that's a fun word. Hierarchical. No way that's a word. Energy. They're of the hierarchy, right? Up reversed, lots of ways to look at reversals whenever you're playing the energy. It's always in context as well, related to what you're asking, what you're getting insight into, the other cards around it. In this case, being the first kind of issue, we can look at it relatively literally, right? Kind of like a topsy-turvy, upside-down version of hierarchy. Hierarchy is kind of being obliterated even as a concept. It's just not stabilizing in a way that people can even identify. It's very difficult to kind of latch on to a hierarchical system. What's that word? Who did that? Is it the Greeks? Heroes? Fuck off, man. Why'd you do that? Whatever system is associated with the hierarchy is having a rough go of things. So makes a lot of sense that this would be something that is a current theme of ours, right? Challenge, Wheel of Fortune reverse. So Wheel of Fortune is not just about like money and winning money, like the game show and things like that, but it really does have to do with all energies related to fortune, luck, grace, you could say, right? Depending on your relationship with that particular archetype, that could be a pleasant, fun energy, or it could be a condemning, cursed energy, right? So Wheel of Fortune also features, at least on the traditional Rider-Waite tarot, outside of the four kind of zodiac energies represented by each of the main energies of the elements. You also get Anubis, right? god of the underworld, who is kind of resting at the bottom, traditionally, of the Wheel of Fortune. However, or supporting the bottom. However, when it's reversed, we see Anubis at the top, right? And we see the snake moving upward. So that's different than the snake moving downward and Anubis supporting, which is what we see when we get the Wheel of Fortune upright. Again, this has to do with movement energy. It also can have to do with chaos. It's not the easiest kind of energy to deal with. That's probably why it's showing up in our challenge position. Again, related to hierarchy, energy being kind of obliterated. We're also getting the Wheel of Fortune energy coming in and basically being like, hey, shit is topsy-turvy here too. So it is like, it can be bad luck typically, but it can also be resistance to change, which I think a lot of us are probably relatively familiar with. On its positive side, the reversal meaning, right, breaking cycles, having cycles kind of interrupted and changing. And I do feel from a larger macro scale, that makes a lot of sense. 2023 probably feels like the end of old energy with the beginning of new energy coming in. That's like, if I were going to say 2023, end of 2022, December 2022, like we're probably looking at the end of old energy and the beginning of new energy overlapping in a serious way. I do think 2023 is primarily going to be that movement towards a new energy, which feels kind of 2024-ish. Does that make sense? Does anyone have any idea what I'm talking about? It does feel like that. Anyway, looking back into the past, we had the world reverse, right? So we start out with like some pretty nice, good reversal, throw you for a loop energy. The world reverse, like, let's not look at it any more complicated than it's an upside down world. What does make sense? What doesn't make sense? Old ideas being challenged with the new ideas feeling sufficiently uncomfortable that we're like, what the fuck? This is new. This is different. Why is this happening? Nevertheless, that is the energy I think most of us would agree has been the past 3 years. I mean, we needed an overt pandemic to kind of go through that. Good job us hitting the nail on the head with the literal world upside down stuff. Cool, great, wonderful, good job. King of Swords upright in our future position. This is where the energy of the reading starts to get pretty pleasantly fun, I would say. King of Swords, right? Associated with clarity, mental clarity, masculine energy, also like very clearly seeing and taking action where it needs to be taken, like cutting through the illusion. Transformation and growth are also symbolized with the butterfly, and emotional growth, I should say, symbolized with the butterfly and the crescent moons on the throne, which the King of Swords sits on. Still some clouds in the back. We're referring to the Rider-Waite Tarot depiction here. You know what we'll do? Okay, I just figured it out. This is what we'll do. This makes sense. I'll do audio versions of the readings, and for patrons, we'll do video. So I'll hold up the cards and we can look and see what's going on there. That seems fair, right? That's a fair trade-off. Okay, we'll do that. Not doing it this one because I didn't record the video of this, and I'm not going to take out my phone and record everything while I'm doing it. Although that would be kind of cool, but I'm not going to do that. But we'll next one. Boom, new year, 2023. We're doing it. Oh, wait, no, we still have December 22. We'll do it sometime in December, but we'll do the energy preview for 2023. We'll have the video for the patrons and the audio for the regular people, you fucking people who don't pay me shit to do this and are just leeching off my goodwill. No, I love you. This is fun to do. King of Swords, clarity. Really, like being able to see a thing for what it is and making an emotional but mental, intellectual, it's like logical yet supported in emotional strength decisions. May still be some areas of confusion, but cutting through those with the sword, right? So pretty cool stuff. That is our future. We can expect that energy. Page of Cups in the conscious mind position is, again, it's that playful curiosity. It's looking at things with levity. It's finding the light side of things. It's being able to kind of cut through the darkness and not have to just be overwhelmed with negativity or pessimism or cynicism or nihilism. It's the antidote to that. So the fact that it's conscious mind present, love that. Gotta love that. We've been talking about it enough. It should pop out at the forefront of our conscious mind. It's pretty cool. The Magician, we have at the unconscious position. This is like the creator masculine energy, right? This is taking all the elementals in front of you, placing them on a table, holding your wand up high in your right logical hand and saying, watch what I'm going to do, some magic tricks. I'm going to do some reality creation. I'm going to do some timeline jumping. I'm going to do some matrix escaping. I'm going to be good at the video game. I'm going to do the imaginal stuff like a boss, that type of shit. It's very proactive, very kind of timeless, right? And it is an active, dynamic energy. You could look at its counterpart as the high priestess, who's sitting on the throne, chilling, letting shit come to her, doing deep transformative work without like moving. Magician is not like that. He's like, watch, I'm going to put on a show. I'm going to do some shit. That's cool. Well, we tend to respond to that well, by the way. It can get cocky and annoying and braggadocious, sure. But like no one can deny when the Michael Jordans of the world come around, when the people who are just absolutely the best at what they do and timeless at it, it's a fun energy. Advice. So that's cool. Again, the Page of Cups, conscious, Magician, unconscious, like very powerful. If we can really like carry that vibe through December should be a good month. We'll look at that last card. It's very interesting as well. Two of Pentacles for the advice card, right? So advice position is just kind of giving you some general advice on what to be looking out for, what can help you in situations. So we see Two of Pentacles and we see, this dancing dude with a pentacle and this infinity kind of wrap sign. And we can look at it and be like, wow, like this is kind of a tough thing he finds himself in. We also see a large ship and a small ship in the background on the water. And we can be like, wow, this is like a dance that's hard to maintain. However, the strength of the Two of Pentacles, the advice here is the more you can make this a dance, a game of rhythm, a game of movement, a game of ups and downs, a game of sides to sides. It's maybe the dumbest way I've ever said anything. Anyway, side to side, yeah, that sounds better. Basically, this ability to kind of move with the rhythms of life, especially surrounding Pentacles energy, Earth energy, reality, grounded stuff, could be money, could be abundance, could be stuff like that. The more we can kind of move with that game, probably the easier it's going to feel for us, right? This is not a rigid holding on to. This is not really dealing with that energy. It's a movement, it's a dance, it's a performance, should be passion, should be related to growth. So next card is the external factors. This is strength, right? We see an angel. I wonder who that angel is. I don't know if I ever looked into that. There's a clear description of who that is. But holding Leo the lion's jaws open, lion representing movement, action, fire, strength, power, right? And gently moving the lion's jaw open, right, with her hands and kind of harnessing this inner strength, this ability to see strength around you. So hopefully you will start seeing examples or have been seeing examples of people who like are doing well, and you can recognize that, or just not even people, but energies that are doing well, that are supporting the things that are supposed to be supported, that people in the face. I think a good example of this would be kind of the Iran protests. I know it's popular to take a stance, based on like geopolitical, cultural movements. I just think generally, like, listen, every culture is its culture. We treat genders and people and sexes, and listen, depending on where you live, gender is just a construct, but there are some rules and laws and regulations that are oppressive to various people around the world. And when those are challenged by kind of like strong individuals, and then movements, that's cool to see. I think we as people kind of like that. It represents kind of a fractal or a metaphor of what we go through in life, so we respond to it. I think that's a pretty good example of like strength, right? It's just having this powerful ability to succeed and move through things gracefully but powerfully. And you should be seeing examples of that just energetically, and maybe even personified in people or even collective movements. So that's, again, like, who wouldn't want to see that as they're kind of journeying through a path of like awakening and discovery? Sounds good to me. Hopes and dreams, temperance. This one really resonates with me a lot, just because I feel like it's different for everyone. But I've obviously, like, for my own life, experienced a lot of really cool and amazing things and some pretty dark things as well. I'm not going to deny those aspects of reality, but like really powerfully cool shit that's just like would be unbelievable to someone if they did. I don't even know how I do it sometimes. It's pretty interesting, but it feels normal to me. However, that's not the goal. The goal isn't to reach 100% coolness factor in life. I mean, that's great. Don't get me wrong. It's not to reach 0%. It's not to reach 50%, but it is to have a balance and appreciation as you're going through that there is this sense of equanimity and peace that you move through experiences with grace so you can fully appreciate them, because there's something that happens to a lot of people. I luckily, and I don't wish this upon myself or anyone else, I don't have a hard time usually appreciating what's in front of me. I really genuinely appreciate stuff. That's like such a big hack for metaphysical reality. Appreciate gratitude. Like these things are they're not just buzzwords that like you say to feel better about yourself or to tell people how to feel or what they should be doing. That's good. It really is like a state of consciousness that you can sit in, and it is a very balanced. You appreciate things. You do. It requires a state of balance. So the more we can kind of sit in that energy, I tend to think the better we feel in terms of what we're doing, and that's good, right? And then on the flip side, the fear side is if you don't have that, if you have an imbalance, it can kind of sour the experience of whatever it is you're going through, right? It doesn't have to be just a, failure to appreciate what's good in your life. It's just like if you're unbalanced, you're missing a lot of the picture. So temperance is here to remind us to have essentially this harmonious relationship between the logical and the intuitive, the masculine and the feminine, the crazy, amazing times and the balanced perspective times. Okay. Outcome card, 8 of Cups reverse. Really, really, like it feels for a December month, like a retrospective, looking back at the year, moving into the 2-year, it feels like the right card. Reverse, we have themes like aimless drifting, kind of moving away from a situation, could be indecision, things like that. It'll also be trying one more time. And usually that trying one more time may give us the result that we want, but a lot of the times it's kind of like, all right, time to let it go. Now, I don't say this in the light that, again, if you have a playful curiosity about something with the powerful magician kind of summoning your world out for you, right, and a focus on balance, you're probably going to know that like when it's time to walk away or something or give it another try. Giving it one more try, though, doesn't necessarily have the benefits that we would hope that it would have all the time. This does kind of feel like a moving away from a certain type of energy. Now, what do I think that energy is? I do think it's this kind of like shadowy, can't, won't, too hard, not possible. That energy needs to really be like kind of examined. I think we've been examining it for the past 2 years, especially the past 6 months or so. We've been examining it. You know what I'm saying? Like we've got okay, I think I get this. It's kind of time to be like, all right, we got to keep it moving. Like we're trying, and this could be as simple as just a relationship for some people. This could be as simple as just a job for someone. It could be and I don't mean to like diminish those in their simplicity. Be happy that it's crystallized into that form for you, because sometimes it can just be a theme or an energy that you're not quietly, able to pin down. But it is kind of a repressive energy that probably want to keep it moving a little bit walking into 2023. I think the better you're going to, we'll do the year preview on the next one. Not just for January. We'll do that as well. We'll split those. We got a lot next month. It's a year shift. And it is a year shift, I think, again, into, I don't want to see more of the same, but it is like we're talking about like the end of the old and the beginning of the new. We're moving into the beginning of the new, like firmly. That's what 2023 feels like. I feel like 2024, new. We've accepted it. We have established it. Beginning of the new, starting. End of the old, end of what has existed, in it, right? So that's the transition that we're going to be kind of looking at and experiencing, and this feels very accurate again, like we've moved. Listen, I'm only a lot of the times, and I do hope everyone realizes this, I have to look at the world and my reality like through the lens of my consciousness. I don't know how to look at it through other people's consciousness fully. I can get ideas. I think that's what helps me as a reader of these things, is applying them and kind of moving the mirrors around to like look at different angles of things through other people's perspectives. But like for this, like this is very much been an accurate tool to look at ways things have gone. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't point out that we do have the ability to augment the past, right? The past is not this fixed, crystallized thing that happened. I know it sure feels like that. You do something, you broke that milk glass into 1,000 pieces, you're not going to be able to go and put that back together in its original form. Although, interestingly enough, I think in quantum physics, they have proved this at this point, that if you had this box that essentially just like went through every infinite possible of combination of molecules, like eventually if you broke something or there was like an apple and it rotted and decayed and evaporated, it would be constituted as its original form again, right? An infinite of expression of an infinite energy would lead to states appearing over and over again. Think about that one for a second. So it isn't impossible. It's unlikely, right, that if you break your glass into 1,000 pieces, you can go back and fix it. However, the emotional impact of breaking that glass and the consciousness kind of perspective and overlay there absolutely can be augmented. It can be seen as a terrible tragedy that is irrevocable. Jesus. Can I not speak today? Irrevocably broken. What did I say? Irrevocably? Jesus. Irrevocably. I'm just going to give up. What can't be changed. That word. In one level could be like, all right, it's not a big deal on another level. So that's kind of what I'm referring to. And it depends on how you view kind of the world. Are there facts that are inalterable and unalterable that dictate our reality, or are there emotional and spiritual and psychological reactions to those things that create energy that actually modulate what we experience and what happens in our world, right? That's the question to ask yourself. I think you know which side I fall on, which is, our emotional impact, how we perceive these things, how we view ourselves, how we view the past, how we view the future, how we view our own personal ability to kind of individuate our consciousness to affect change in our world. That's the thing. That's what I believe. It's not more complicated than that for me at this point. I have believed the other way. I believe, like most people, that there's a world out there constantly influencing my decisions. I just have to have my own perspective and hope I figure it out. And, best of luck to you. It's a cruel world out there. I don't think I've really lived in that energy that long, but of course you have to entertain that perspective. It would be really bad if someone was like talking about all this shit and just like had no idea of what the other side was. That's naive. It's not useful. I think that's why we put ourselves through sometimes situations that could be perceived as suffering or difficult. You need that perspective sometimes. You don't have to live in it. Like I always say, you don't have to jump into the lake head first. You can dip your toesies in and still get a feel for what the lake is like. You don't have to do Wim Hof everything. Everything doesn't have to be freezing cold, even if it makes you like an uber human. What if here's the real challenge. What if you could become immortal like Wim Hof says, or whatever it is, you're the healthiest person alive, if you did Wim Hof, but you couldn't stop talking about Wim Hof? Is that a fair trade-off? I don't know. I think I'd rather just be a normie who dies than have to talk about Wim Hof all the time. I hope for people last episode, I had bros who lifting getting, obviously playfully upset at me making fun of them, which, like, bros, like, lifting is kind of goofy and silly, but I also know it's a very powerful thing. I've done it myself, and you feel strong and you feel good and you see development. It's cool, but it's also like such a funnily associated thing. But anyway, this week, who are we offending? Wim Hof people. Yes, there's a very targeted, God forbid. And who would imagine someone who lifts and does Wim Hof? Couldn't be a person who exists. We're going after Wim Hof people. I mean, the thing is Wim Hof. I get it. Cold showers, cold, stuff. But like really, like I don't know. I don't need to live in that world. I don't want to be. I get it. It makes so much energetic sense why something like Wim Hof works physiologically, spiritually. It's the same principle. It's the same axiom. If you can kind of like shock yourself into like immunity and like really get yourself running better in situations where you're not being shocked by cold stuff, makes a lot of sense. But also like I really don't want to take a cold shower at all. It seems psychopathic. But people swear by it and they like it, so no offense to people who are into Wim Hof. But that's the challenge, right? You get all the benefits of Wim Hof breathing, but you cannot talk about Wim Hof. Oof. What a challenge. Any cultural sensations going on right now? I don't know. I'm watching the end of Peaky Blinders finally. It's cool. It's a little depressing. It's a little dark. Awful. It's a little dark, but I like it. Other than that, making music again. That's fun. That's a real measure of like everyone should have their measure of what is like when they're doing well, like a sign of that. Definitely for me, like if I had the time and the energy to make music, then I'm definitely clicking into some nice stuff. Find what your thing is. Find some hallmarks of your life that just kind of help and support you. That way, like if you lose your way or it gets a little chaotic, you can at least have these things. Don't be disappointed if they don't work like magic remedies all of the time. It's not their function. It's just a supportive thing of like hallmarks to show you how you're doing. So, yeah. Okay. We're feeling good about December, hopefully moving into it. I also like do not want to omit. It's all rough as shit. It's all like, I'm not trying to like make it seem like everything is easy, breezy. We're going through living greasy through the year. Like this has been a slog. Pandemic, hangover, virus, we see this reflected in the health of ourselves, but it does feel like there's a light at the end of the tunnel, at least. And as before, like there was just no tunnel. It was just like abject, like what the fuck is going on for most people. And like, listen, it doesn't mean your life was going bad. I actually did pretty well, all things considered. But I mean, it was the energy got a little darker, got a little more shadowy, we should say, right? I don't want to pretend that we're not in that in any way right now. But you should be hearing comforting voices coming back, people kind of reestablishing it in yourself. Like you should hopefully be feeling like this. Hopefully it resonates on some deep level because these are just the cards. I always say this, like this is a reflection of whatever energy you're reading. So if you're doing a personal reading, it's like your deepest subconscious, unconscious kind of stuff you can't necessarily get a glimpse into. And you'll know because you'll react certain way to the cards. You'll be like, oh, yeah, why did I come there? Oh, that type of thing. And if you're reading it for a general energetic thing, like we are for months or years or periods of time, it's just a reflection of what we are going to experience through that, right? Collectively, individually. And if we are just doing this properly, it should have as little of our personal kind of ideas or influence in it as possible. You want to be as clear as a mirror for energy to come back and be reflected. And that's a beautiful thing that we possess, right? If we're one, if we're source, if we're all of these things, you do at your core have this ability to reflect back pure, unfiltered, unadulterated consciousness. That's a powerful thing. So find, I guess, if it calls you a modality that allows you to do this type of reading. I am grateful every day that I really still like, sometimes it'll be months where I don't use the cards. It really happens, especially when I shut down the readings and everything. Like I just don't use them. It doesn't feel like the time to be doing it. It's so much like riding a bike that when you pull them out again, each card has its meaning in context related to the things you're speaking about. It's cool stuff. So and also don't wait for someone to give you cards. Such a silly thing that they used to do. Go buy your own cards. Get them on Amazon. Who gives a shit? Just get a pack if it's something that speaks to you, a deck. Do a little research. You're totally allowed to look things up online and buy books. Doesn't mean they're your gospel. It just means they're reference points for this stuff. So, yeah, that's pretty good stuff. Anything else? Patreon still going strong. We are going to be doing, like I said, at least 2 live streams a month. We'll try to pull some guest episodes on there soon. What else? That's it, right? I think that's it. Like and subscribe. Well, I don't know. So I talked about this with Jess the other day. I was just like, podcast. When can we do something else? It's not like we would do just to be clear, we would do the exact same thing in some format. It's just the podcasts now are so oversaturated. Like I use this because it connects me to, tens of thousands of listeners and voices, and people respond back to me, and there's a relationship that's developed there. That's why I put out this podcast, quote unquote. But like, oh man, I do think streaming is going to be a bigger part of what we're doing. I do like that, but I don't want to be like on all the time. But I think just kind of for people who are capable of being on camera and just speaking and interacting with people, that's going to be a bigger thing. I'm on Twitch. People can find me there. That's where we typically do the live streams live, and then we record them for patrons. But yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly what we're moving into. I do know live events or something. I'll say it every week, and then one week it'll just be like, okay, we have something planned. Probably this spring, though, right? I don't think we're going to plan something for the winter. It doesn't feel like. Maybe still hunker down time, but spring feels like it could be a good time for a live event. So stay tuned for that as I figure out what that will be. It would be cool. That's it for real. Apologies about last week. Didn't get it out. We welcome our sponsors back next week. Is it next week? Yeah, December. That's fun too. Good. I mean, listen, guys, I really have to thank you also for like I took such a long break from this, not like a week, but like 6 months, 8 months in the crypto vortex. I won't do that again. I'll make sure to update people. I just also, a part of the reasons I don't podcast that much when I'm doing the crypto stuff is like, I don't want to ever tell people like what to buy, what not to buy. I think when I first started doing this in like 2017, when crypto like really started booming for me, I was mentioning coins and stuff, and like that worked for so long, right? If you go back to those episodes, I'll cringe at the things I was suggesting. I mean, granted, some of them are actually around and up quite a bit. Most of them, because it was such an early day and I didn't pick stuff that got blown up, but I don't want to be talking about crypto stuff. There is the Discord server for that. That's where we talk about that stuff. And we're very upfront, very clear about what is like, why we're doing it. Is it a scam? Is it probably not going to work? Is it going to work? What our logic is? That's the place for that. The podcast, I'm not supposed to be throwing out, unrequested financial advice for people in crypto. Honestly, though, I know one thing. Next week, I think it is. Stay tuned. I was on Jason Louve's Ultra Culture podcast again. We spoke for almost 3 hours. It was nuts. I don't know if he'll put the full thing out, but it was so long, so good. Yeah, that's it. We're having a good time, and that's it. I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye. Take my thoughts with you.